Hello, beautiful souls. Thank you for being here as always. So grateful and honored to share this powerful message with you today. And I want to talk about sovereignty and the power of your presence, among many other things that I want to touch on. So I'm just going to dive right in and flow with this. The energy is so strong for me. I can really feel it. I can really feel it just like coursing through my veins. It's so amazing to me how it's just more and more tangible. I feel like I say that every time, but I can't not acknowledge it. And perhaps it's, maybe it's something I just need to say so we all feel less crazy because we're not crazy. This is spiritual awakening. You can't possibly comprehend and now what you will in a week, and really what you will in 2 days or even one day. That's how fast we're moving, or we have the opportunity to move. And right off the bat, I just want to say, I hope you have something special planned for yourself tomorrow. For the 22222, so many twos. It truly is a huge alignment. It really is a powerful day, however you want to frame it, however you want to see it. I just want to put that out there to, if you don't already do this, I encourage you, if you feel called, to have some kind of little ceremony, of some kind with yourself, and just, you know, give yourself love, give humanity love, give the universe love. That's part of the work we're really here to do, which, of course, segues right into the first thing I want to talk about. I feel like I've said this before, but it comes to me again and again, and it finally hit me in a way that has really, I understand how profound it really is. I think many of us, we often wonder what's our purpose. That's kind of like part of being a human, because we want to be of service. We want to be happy. And it's so connected because so much of our own happiness actually comes from serving others, using our own unique gifts. That's truly, one of the greatest sources of happiness, because obviously we're all connected. And the beautiful thing that I've just learned so, so strongly, and I think many of us have, is that truly the greatest way to help people and be of service to them, it's not from trying to change them, it's not from trying to force them. Ultimately, it really is just being you. It's ultimately being your greatest version of yourself and being a shining light for others. And I really want to get into this because I feel like it's almost cliche at this point, but I really want to just show the potence of this, because it's so funny how, I feel like spiritual teachers, spiritual guides, or higher self, it's like we hear this a lot. I know I do, that, your presence is your purpose. You being here is enough. You just being here is enough. If you want to learn how to, do energy healing, or you want to learn how to live off of nature, or you want to do these things, no matter how extravagant or how ordinary they may be. That's all wonderful. That's great. These expressions, we seek these expressions that we do because these expressions are seeking us. It's not just a one-way street. So there's a reason that you feel called to do these things. But let me just reel it in. No matter what you do when you're in, I mean, you're always in your presence. So so no matter what you do, period, you're serving right now. But especially, and this is what I really want to get into, because I really want to dive deep into sovereignty, because I've been learning a lot about sovereignty recently that I think will really, really resonate with a lot of us. Because oftentimes, again, we hear this: your presence is enough. Your presence is why you're here. And it's funny how it's like, I think it's so hard for us to believe that that is enough. Where it's like, it's almost like our spirit will tell us your presence is why you're here, and we're like, that's not possibly enough. It's like, that couldn't possibly be good enough. It's like, I have to learn how to do this. I have to show people how to do this first before I have purpose. And I just want to remind you that that's not the case, because when you are in your presence, again, you could never really, truly, you could never not be in your presence, but especially when you're just anchored into what I want to talk about, these really high states of consciousness that I truly am seeing that this is a big part of why we're here, of why I'm here. When you can, in your being, anchor into sovereignty in yourself, which is directly correlated. Being anchored into sovereignty also means being anchored into oneness with the Creator. It also means being anchored into unconditional love, no conditions, unconditional love. It means being anchored into extreme gratitude, extreme joy, extreme wholeness, extreme bliss, extreme forgiveness for all. This is a very, when you can access these states, this is what I really want to share, because I really was blessed to see this very clearly. Again, a lot of this is maybe almost cliche because we hear it so much, but I want to really emphasize and remind, I feel that's what's called to remind us, is that is so powerful, because when you do that, and this is what I mean, your presence is your purpose. There's honestly, I hate to break it to the egos that want to be out here just like constantly doing stuff and doing stuff and doing stuff. And nothing wrong with doing stuff, but it's your beingness. It's your presence, it's your beingness that's actually having the greatest effect. And that's why I have to emphasize this, because it's like the ego doesn't really like to hear that, because the ego, I know for me, is always like, that's great, but that's not enough. When really, I think it's the highest honor that your presence alone, your presence, walking down the street, you know, maybe like bumping into, not literally, but, energetically bumping into strangers on the street, your presence, your light, all the people who know you, that's your purpose. So it's inevitable. You already are your purpose. You already are. Because this is, again, what I really want to get into. And this happens no matter what, but I feel like a huge practice, for me at least, is these high states of sovereignty, these high states of unconditional love. And I'm going to get more into all this in a moment. Because your field, literally your aura, like the bubble, your energy field, you are emitting energy, literally. So when you're tapping into high states of consciousness, and remember, you are ascending, so your consciousness every day is higher. You might not always feel like it, it might not always look like it, because we have to go through the lessons, but don't let that discourage you. Because that's the thing with these high states of sovereignty and of love, is that it's a practice. So I'm going to get into that in a moment. It's a practice. It's mastery. That's what we're here to do. That's what we're learning. That's what this is all about. So going back to what I was saying, when you are in these, again, just your presence alone, you don't have to try, because there really is no trying. It's just being. It's just knowing. You're radiating energy off of you, very tangibly so. Whether you're sitting by yourself in your own field, you are literally radiating energy, and you can learn through some exercises, and not even exercises, but just things that I've discovered that I will share with you in this video, that it's energy just like pouring off of you. This love light energy is just pouring off of you into your field. So this affects you, obviously. This affects your space. This affects anyone who's near you physically, whether you know them or not, whether they're picking up on this consciously or not. Because I 100% guarantee you, when you do this, the people around you are going to pick up on it and feel it. They might not understand it. It might not be as powerful to them as it is to you, but I 100% guarantee you that they're going to feel it. And it's not about the outcome anyways. It's not about none of this, and this is why we have to get into sovereignty, since we're talking about this. All these messages, it's like geometric. They're so all connected. So hopefully, you can listen to this whole thing, because it's all so connected, even though it's like all these different points. Because none of this is about control, because that's what I mean when I say your presence is your purpose. And I feel like that's why we've had to learn the very specific lessons individually and collectively, because I know the whole collective has seen that you cannot control people. That's not how you help people. And that's not sovereign. That's not really acting in sovereignty when you're trying to change someone by force. It's something you cannot do, at least not sustainably. So, for example, if you're if you're vibrating these high states of consciousness, it has nothing to do with trying to change humanity as much as it has to do with trying to truly give love to humanity, trying to just radiate love. It's almost like you're creating opportunities for more human beings to tap into this high energy that many don't really remember exists. This high level of trust, this high level of bliss, this high level of knowingness, this high level of peace and gratitude and joy for what we uncover in our spiritual awakening. It's so blissful and phenomenal what we tap into that I myself, I'm speaking from experience in our lives. That's really, on a deep level, I find what people crave, even if they don't understand it and they don't know how to get there. So when they can feel it coming off of your field, again, whether they realize it or not, it has such a profound effect. I just felt really called to share that because, and they don't even have to be physically around you, because when you tap into these high states of consciousness, you know what I mean? And you just kind of be, and you can even say prayers, just like sending love to yourself, to humanity, to the animals, to the earth, to the universe, to the creator, to everything. That is such powerful work. That is such powerful work. And the whole humanity will feel that. And if you're familiar, I think I've said this before, it's like the 100th monkey effect. As you solve these puzzles within your own reality, within your own mind, talking about the inner, your own healing, healing your limiting beliefs, healing your fears, healing your angers, healing your wounds. As you do that, it's not easy work, my friends, trust me, I know, but as you do that, it's like you're creating pathways for the whole collective to find how to heal their trauma and their pain, which is really the root of all this mental slavery. Because this thing that we're, the real pandemic is of the mind. It's a mental virus. It really is. It's in the mind. So much so. And that's why when I say all of these things, it's so important to start tapping into your heart, because there's so many things that the mind, because the practices that I'm going to speak of in this video can seem really challenging when you're stuck in your mind. It's like, because the mind is so hyper and it tends to be really cold. And that's where this parasite is. And in my understanding, it's not even the ego, it's this literal mental parasites. I think that's one of the best ways to describe, what we've been in. It's literally like a mental virus of like fear, and that's in everything that surrounds fear. We've been dulled down. This is kind of a side note, but we've been dulled down as a race to almost the dullest possible point. Our consciousness was manipulated and dulled down to such a low point that, if you think about it, that's why from here on out, it's only going to get more incredible. It's only going to get more vibrant. It's only going to get more multidimensional, because we're literally coming home. We're evolving, but honestly, a better word for it for me is like coming back home, because we already are these beings of light. We already are infinite. We already are eternal and whole. But obviously, we are in this human physical journey where it is like an evolution for humanity to heal and integrate so much of what has happened, in like personally and collectively, and start to really create this new earth, this new reality. So I hope that's clear. Your presence is your purpose. I mean, how amazing is that? That's not something to just shrug off and be like, I couldn't possibly be that worthy or that powerful, because you really, really are. And that has to do with the masterful dedication. This is like tuning into these states. So I just want to go over this right now. It's a practice. So it's like the last thing you want to do is beat yourself up when you're in states of lack or states of anger or states of fear or states of victimhood, because this is part of the human experience. I think we all and know that by now. You know, that's the kind of thing that you want to just observe and be so compassionate with yourself when you're going through it, because it's temporary. Those emotions, the more masterful you become and what I'm speaking of, the more sovereign you become, regardless of what's going on outside of you or even what's going on inside of you. Sometimes that's even harder because we naturally, as we go about our day, and many of us are very sensitive, will find that, you may come up on some really negative thoughts, or you may come upon some emotional turmoil, or you may come upon physical pain. So the mastery key is being able to navigate those uncomfortable states, still having this degree of presence, of sovereignty, of it's like an anchoredness in knowing. And this is an important part, is it's not trusting, because I feel like trusting still implies that you're attached to needing some kind of an outcome. Whereas knowing is like you just know. You just know you're safe. I think we have so much of our fear comes from the past, and you have to remember that we're born into amnesia here, and all these past traumas were most likely designed by your higher self to awaken you to get to where you are now. And if you knew then what you know now, it wouldn't have been like that. So it's the past can, really hold us hostage sometimes with these things. So all of that said, I just want to start talking about some maybe more practical things considering this, because like I said, it's truly amazing. I've been, this is like in my own life, I've been very blessed to been given an opportunity to really live like a reclusive life the past year, past 2 years more like. So, very much, I've said it before, like very much hermiting. And now it's like I'm feeling guided more and more to start interacting with people more and just going out more, just taking more time to go out in public, and this is the reason I'm saying this, is because this is about sovereignty. I think a lot of people are going to relate to this because, for me, I'm such a sensitive person that, and I'm really grateful for this time I've had to not really have to go in public a lot, because it's like when you're sensitive, I think we all are, if we're on this path by now, it's overwhelming. It can be very, very overwhelming just going to like a public place and just feeling this like hurricane of all these different energies just like being tossed around. It's like very, very overwhelming and very, very draining. However, and again, listen to your own guidance, because I wouldn't take back all that time I had being a total recluse, and I still am, but it's like a balance. Now, more and more, I'm finding that for me, it's like service work. And I say this because this is it, if you feel called, this is you for you as well. To just go out in public in these high states of sovereignty and love and light, it's kind of like the trinity. It has a really helpful effect on people. And again, a lot of it's subliminal. But literally your field, your Merkaba, and I'm going to talk about the Merkaba in a moment. The Merkaba, it's like it's your light body, it's your energy field. And if you've never seen the geometric configuration, I do say look it up, real quick, the Merkaba. It's literally like your auric field. It's very, very powerful. I am still tapping into this and learning a lot about it, but the more you start activating your Merkaba, again, I'm going to talk about that more in a moment, the more you're going to be amazed at what you can do through your intentions, like instantly, considering your own energy, your own just like all kinds of things, grounding your energy. You can like ground your energy like instantly through your intentions. Once you start activating your Merkaba, it's part of tapping into your multidimensional nature. So, and whether you've been doing this like consciously or not, if you're watching this and you're understanding what I'm saying, it's already a thing. It's naturally occurring. So your Merkaba is giving off codes of light all the time in your field. So again, just you going out in public, you don't even have to be in like these high states of consciousness. Obviously, the more you can do that, the more like potent it's going to be. But just your energy alone, your presence is your purpose. Your presence is radiating these possibilities to people who have never seen such a thing, perhaps. There's people who have never perhaps even considered the fact that there's a God, that there's a creator, that the creator loves them unconditionally and is just waiting for them, that they have a purpose for existing, that they have sovereignty, that they have love, that they have light, that they have so many things that have been conditioned out of us. This is so powerful. I really hope you can feel it. It's like you literally exude that when you stand in that knowingness. You don't have to try. There's no trying. There's no trusting. It's just knowing. It's just being. So powerful. So powerful. And I think that's a big part of what we're doing. Because when you understand that, you see that it doesn't matter what you're doing. Again, as humans, our egos, I think we get so caught up in, oh, I need to do this, I need to do that. And again, there's a reason for that. But you are enough. Just your presence is enough. Please remind yourself that. That's all it is. Because when you're in that presence, when you're a high vibrational person who's working on this level of mastery, you exude this energy. There's no try, you just do. And I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, and you notice it, because I notice it more and more. I notice it. I literally notice people just like, it's just like people just looking at me like, you know what I mean? It's just like it's interesting, and it's not just because how I look. It's like I know they can feel my vibration, even if it's subliminally. So it's really, really powerful. So I just want to say that, because don't underestimate what that means to people. Again, we are blessed. You know what I mean? I think a lot of us, we've had to take so much time to come back into ourselves, because you can't pour from an empty cup. But remember that so much joy is really in service work. And again, service work is not always what you think it is. It really is, and this brings me back kind of full circle. It's being the greatest version of you. It's not trying to change people. When you're in your presence, whether you're sitting at a coffee shop, whether you're um, playing a song for a million people, whether you're walking down the street, whether you're taking the trash out, whether you're building something, like it literally doesn't matter. Again, how extravagant or how ordinary it is that you're doing, when you're doing it with this level of love and presence and sovereignty, you are contributing this high energy to the field. It's like coming off of you. It's truly incredible. So the reason I say about going in public is because, this is again all connected. The peace that allows you to go in public and just radiate your Merkaba, again, not to change people, not to control people, not to force your will upon people, because that's very egotistical. It's not how we do it. It just doesn't work. It's again about being love and light. It's like about being the inspiration, but it's like the trinity. And actually, there's a channel I really love called Eldora and Saman on YouTube. And, one of the things that they talk about a lot, and this might trigger some people, but I really resonate with this because I've felt into it a lot. is that's, one of the things they say all the time is love, light, and fuck you too. It's the trinity, though. It's all three of them. That's part of sovereignty. It's part of do no harm, but take no shit. And what that really means is having boundaries. Having boundaries. It doesn't mean going out and being aggressive, It doesn't mean looking for trouble. It's not like that. It means having firm boundaries. Because again, if you're like me and you're a sensitive person, this is how you start being sovereign. This is why I'm being guided, by my higher self to go out in public situations and start doing this work, because it's like training for me to keep my boundaries firm. It's like, can I be around people without absorbing their energy? I think many of us are learning that. It's like, again, whether it's internally or externally, can I remain sovereign, remain tapped in, remain connected to who I am, regardless of what's going on around me. Even if there's, what we call 3D people around me, they can be very, very negative. They really can. They can be very, very no, no, no. They can be very, very just hateful and aggressive. And, I see all kinds of spectrums traveling, and there's a lot of beautiful people, really friendly people as well. You have it on both sides, but for the point I'm saying is, as a sensitive person, you have to have that sovereignty piece. That's why so many, light workers, I think, struggle, and I've been part of this too, because they're just too, they don't know how to set boundaries. They don't know how to have that sovereignty, that firmness of like, you cannot tread on me. It's so important. It's so important. So I don't know. I'm not trying to trigger anyone, but that is, in my opinion, is a great way to frame it. It's just love, light, and fuck you too. Because not everything is trying to um, be nice to you. That's just how it is. Not everything is honest. Not everything, we live in a world of deception. Obviously, we all know this. But it's the Trinity. It's all. It's not just having this, because some people, have this full attitude of like, just like hatred. And it's not about being hateful. It's again about just setting boundaries and being strong and firm in yourself. Don't let people push you around. Learn how to not absorb people's energy. That's part of sovereignty. I hope that makes sense, because that's such an important piece. It really is. Do no harm, but take no shit. And this applies to everything. So the example I was giving is, because you have to learn how to do this. I don't think we're here to just, you know, maybe some people are, but for me, it's like, I feel like I'm not only here to just be a recluse. I feel like, again, going out when I feel called in public places and just sharing this energy is helping people. So it's also helping me to learn how to not be a sponge. You know what I mean? Again, sensitive, empathic people, we tend to be a sponge. Can we learn how to set those boundaries and say, no, like, I'm not absorbing your negativity? And it doesn't mean I'm going to mirror you, because that's usually what happens when we get triggered by someone who's acting super, again, 30, whatever, acting super just like negative and ignorant. A lot of times when we get triggered, we want to mirror that. But I think mastery is more than that too. And I just want to make it clear, because it doesn't mean that you're being aggressive or, um, it's just, again, love and light. And fuck you too. I hope that makes sense. It doesn't mean you're being aggressive to people. It just means you're having boundaries. You're not just absorbing people. You're not just getting triggered. You're not just mirroring back people's negativity, because that's not mastery. You know, in most cases, that's coming back to their level when we're learning how to be sovereign. Not taking the shit, but not doing no harm. Doing no harm. So, something to ponder upon. So, I want to dive deeper into the sovereignty now. Because it's just like, for me, and I think, again, many are going to relate to this, it's such a rewarding feeling to realize how much more sovereign I've become. And obviously, I'm tested still almost every day. But just looking back at the experiences I've had and how I handle things now, internally or externally. So as I said, I'm getting a lot better at being sovereign, and this has to do with your field too. That's what I'm going to lead into. Kind of the last piece is the exercises, or whatever you want to call them. I found that help a lot. Learning how to not be like penetrated by other people's like negativity or other people's baggage. You know what I mean? Still being able to hold space for them. Don't underestimate how powerful that is. Again, when we think holding space, I think it's like it sounds kind of passive and like whatever, when in fact it's a very masterful shamanic thing to do. That's something else that was revealed to me, because if you ever had to hold space for a really, really intense situation, and a situation that is like, it's just really freaking intense energy of like, it could be maybe somebody's negativity, just like their trauma, their pain, just like coming out like nasty. Again, no judgment, we all have it, but if you've ever had to hold space for something of that nature, or anything of like that, can happen many different ways. That's not something to be taken lightly, and in fact, it's a truly a shamanic. It can be a really shamanic experience to hold that space and keep shining your light, because that's the thing about being in the dark. That's the beauty of it, is you get to be the light in the dark. You get to shine like a star. That's what sovereignty really is. It's holding on to that light and shining like a star even when you're in the dark externally. And even if you're in the dark internally, because like I said before, sometimes things in the external are fine, but the negative thoughts, the rabbit holes, the beliefs, the trauma, the pain, the emotions. That's why it's so important to learn how to let that emotional. If humans understood how to just let emotional energy run through their bodies without resisting it and attaching stories to it, I think we would have a lot less um, problems in the world. Obviously, that's not something we're taught, and we're taught quite the opposite. We're taught to repress it and project it, because I know that those emotions can be really intense. But even in the midst of that, that's again mastery. So I said this in, one of those short videos that I made is, I'll say it again, true mastery is being able to be sovereign, what I'm speaking of, anchored into your unconditional presence, your unconditional love, your unconditional light, your unconditional oneness, knowingness, beingness. That's all it is. It's simple. It's always, always there. We just forget. I forgot where I was going with that. It's totally, just train of thought, totally lost. Oh, being able to be tuned into that regardless, even when painful emotions come up. Can you still know that you're safe? Even when really, really dark emotions come up, can you still know that you're safe? Even when really, really toxic narratives play in your mind, can you still be sovereign? It's not easy. I know it's not always easy, and I know it's really, really uncomfortable sometimes, almost all the time, but it's so worth it, because this is how we attain mastery, which is the most rewarding thing. This mastery, this level of soul mastery, is, I promise you, more rewarding than anything the physical world could possibly offer you. So even when it looks like things aren't going your way, know that they are going your way, because that's what this is all about. As you ascend, as you awaken, as we come back to our senses that we haven't been in for thousands of years, because like I said before, we've been so dulled down to like the most possibly dull point of consciousness to still function, everything is going to continuously get more and more multidimensional. And to me, this is really exciting. This is really fun. Everything is going to get more quantum. We're going to be able to do things we haven't been able to do before. When you align with God, when you align with this love, this force of love and oneness that I'm speaking of, doesn't matter what you call it. I find that so funny when people get caught in the syntax. It literally doesn't matter what you call it. Or, and no one's going to see it the same. But when you align with what you know in your heart to be true, and that is whole and complete in oneness and love, these energies, these words that are actually forces, The more you trust and know in this force, the more power you will be given. Because God will give you amazing powers when God, whatever you want to call it, knows that you're not going to abuse them. That's the path of mastery. And you will be able to do things that you never thought possible. And this is why, if you're feeling right now, if you're wondering, why you're struggling or why your path seems harder than others, it's because you have a super high calling. It's because you're here to really, really activate something amazing that you wouldn't want to cheat yourself out of. I'm going all over the place, but this is also a really important point because, I'm sure you're familiar with the law of attraction, and that's true and that's great. And, I've used that all the time myself, but it seems like it's changing a lot in a way because so many of us, what we really desire is this awakening, is this ascension. So that overrides anything material. You want to manifest these material things, but it's being overridden by your higher self that wants to manifest the most potent, juicy soul lessons that you could imagine. And you still eventually will get everything you want anyways. But first, the lessons. It's the most important part. It's why we're really here. So that's true mastery to me. I remember, just kind of reminiscing about, it's just incredible when you really start to develop this level of sovereignty again, to see how much more power you really have. And this is like heaven. This is really what it's all about, because you no longer really have fear, because you understand. I mean, fear may still arise, but you long term you don't have fear, because you know that you are one with God, and you know that everything is arising for a reason, and you know that everything is happening for a specific purpose, for your highest good, for your soul's highest good. You know that you are safe no matter what happens. That's sovereignty. No matter what is arising outside of you or inside of you, knowing you're safe, knowing you're eternal, knowing that you are connected to the force of love, knowing that even if you're surrounded by darkness, you have the ability to be the shining star of light in that darkness. How incredible is that? I don't think you can just do this anywhere. Earth is a very special place. This is a very special opportunity for us to learn how to master these things. It, a reminder to me is don't get too hooked on the details. The details are important, but remember the big picture. Remember why you're really here. Remember who you really are. It's so much more than this. This is a very special experience. The things that are unfolding in our lives and our realities now are not coincidence. Nothing is. And again, this is part of coming back into our multidimensional nature. It's only going to get more vibrant. I don't know how else to say it than that. More quantum, more connected, more synchronistic, more divine. Truly amazing. So that's really the theme for me right now. It's just the words of sovereignty, mastery. And so how can you really activate this? I'm sure you already know, and if you ask yourself, you will know. It'll be revealed to you, but I'll share with you, what comes from me. So first, the Merkaba I mentioned before. To activate your Merkaba, first and foremost, it's really about just starting to tap into it, because it's there. It's already there. It's built into you. It's built into your body. And it's so important to do this, I find, because not only is this going to give you a lot more power that you didn't know you had when you really start activating it, but it's also like a reminder to you, like a mental reminder to you every single day that you are multidimensional. So the way to start really tuning in with it is just intending it, visualizing it. It could be in a meditation, it could be when you wake up, it could be as you're in the shower, Whenever you can, just when you think of it, just visualize it. Or if you're not a very visual person, it doesn't matter, just feel it. Just feel this, like it's like it feel like a bubble around you that's like holding you and keeping you safe. Start to own that. Own your energy field. Own your people call it morphogenic field. Own it. Not in an ego way, but just claim your sovereignty. Claim your space. Start activating the field around you. When I talk about shielding, and I'm going to have to make a whole video on this again, it's so powerful, not because you need to think about, oh, I need to shield myself from all this horrible energy. I mean, you can see it that way if you want, but it's not even like that. It's really about starting to claim your auric space again, starting to claim your sovereignty again. Sovereignty over your field, sovereignty over your body, sovereignty over your consciousness, sovereignty over your life. Not just physically either, physically, but also energetically, because obviously everything is energetic. Everything starts energetically. The more you start doing this simple work of starting to intend your Merkaba, starting to visualize it, starting to feel it, starting to talk to it, talk to it, kind of like you maybe would talk to your body, start activating it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can ask me, or you can ask, I encourage you to ask your higher self for guidance, because it will tell you what, how can I start activating my Merkaba? How can I start activating my light body, my spiritual field around me? And just the intentions. This is what I mean, just little things every day. Start activating this field around you. You'll definitely notice your life start to change, like crazy, crazy. And you'll definitely feel a lot more sovereign, because you start having this rootedness in who you are, because that's when we're able to be kind of pulled away from our center, is when we get sucked into these different like stories or impressions. And I've been, as many of us, if not all of us, we've been in very intense situations, so it's like, that it's very powerful. It's very powerful mastery when you can be in those intense situations and still be rooted into yourself. So that's how you start to activate the Merkaba. If you haven't already, just for beginners, start doing that. Start interacting with it. Again, visualizing, intending, talking with it. It's that simple, because it's already built into you. You don't have to do anything. You just have to start recognizing it and activating it, because again, you'll just feel so much more sovereign. That's how I feel. I feel so much more sovereign, so much more tapped into my multidimensional nature when I recognize there's literally a huge bubble of light around me that is here to assist me. It's a game changer once you really know that. So that's the Merkaba. And then speaking of being in high blissful states, like I said, it's a practice. It's like playing an instrument or anything of that nature. This is a really good analogy for me as a musician. It's like playing an instrument. Sometimes it's like it can be really easy to access these high states of consciousness when you're, because the energy is always fluctuating anyways. Starting to tap into, when you're already feeling good, it's really, really easy to do this. It's like you can really, really get into high states. Again, we're on Earth, we're in this duality, so it's going to continuously, like the wave, you're going to continuously have negative and positive experiences. It's not something you should beat yourself up about. It's not that you're doing anything wrong. It's just part of the experience. The more you step into your sovereignty and mastery and higher self, the more you won't start to be like so like blown away with all these things. You just be centered. But when you're already in a good mood, it's really, really easy to start tapping into these go into your heart, because if you're having a hard time doing this, it's most likely means you're too much in your head, because once you go into your heart, it's simple. It's so unbelievably simple how deep and fast you can tune into this when you're truly in your heart, whereas the mind can wrestle with you for a long time before it even throws you a bone. Come back into the heart. That's really the key here. And start tapping into, you can tap into heaven on earth. I mean, it's truly incredible the high states that you can access right now already. I'm telling you, it's amazing. tapping into this love, tapping into the love, tapping into the oneness of all, tapping into joy, tapping into wholeness, tapping into bliss, tapping into peace, tapping into everything is okay right now as it is. Be okay with yourself. That's a big part. It's like, that's a big part of sovereignty is, can you just be okay with yourself? Can you just be okay with yourself no matter what is happening? That's really that simple. And as you just keep going deeper, deeper into these states, you'll start feeling this energy coursing through your veins. It's like intense. It's like for me, it is a lot of times. It's just like, oh my goodness. It's like I feel this light coming through my body, and that's how I know that, I can see that it's actually like shining out into the field around me. And everyone can do this. Anyone can do this. So that's really amazing. And why I say again it's a practice and it's like playing an instrument is because, there's going to be things that arise that trigger you. It's just how it is. The more you can be compassionate and gentle and forgive yourself for being triggered by all the annoying things that exist in this reality, the more you can just kind of like be easy on yourself instead of like going into one of those loops. You know what I'm talking about? And when you're in one of those lower states, a lot of times what you can really anchor into is forgiveness. Even if you can't forgive the person, if there is a person who's triggering you, forgive yourself for being triggered. That's really where you start. Can you practice radical forgiveness? That is a force that will help you so much. And again, by helping you, it'll help others around you so much when you can tap into forgiveness, tap into gratitude, tap into the knowingness. It's not even a trusting, because again, it's like there's no need for any outcome. You already know you already know you're eternal. You already know that everything that's happening is always happening for your greatest and highest good, even if you don't understand it, even if it's uncomfortable or painful. Ultimately, it's always happening to skyrocket you somewhere amazing. The more you can remember that when you're going through it, the easier it is to just flow and anchor into that sovereignty and devour the opportunities when you get triggered. Devour them, because they're not your enemy. That's your opportunity to be a master. That's your opportunity to be like, oh wow, this is a really hard one. This is a really hard one. How can I come back to my sovereignty? And whatever it is that's triggering you will pass, and you will be able to see more clearly than the lesson that is within it, because there's always a lesson. That's why we're here. That's why this is so, again, if you're feeling really challenged right now, that's why. It's because we're mastering something way greater than ourselves. It's not just something I'm saying, it really is how it is. When we're in the midst of the challenge, it can be hard, but I'm just here to remind you, that it's always worth it. It's always worth it. And it's, again, you're not just doing this for yourself, but you're doing this for all of humanity. So I hope this is a deeper glimpse into why your presence is your purpose. Because we talk about it all the time. It's ancient. It's an ancient knowing that the way to heal the world is to heal yourself. And that's one of the reasons, is because your energy is directly affecting this whole collective consciousness. There's no way around it. It's not even abstract when you can actually see your field emanating high amounts of love and light. It's literally like codes that you're giving, key codes to other people, and you don't even have to say anything. I get the feeling, even for me, speaking here, it's like, it's not even just the words I'm saying as much as it's just the energy that I'm giving that is benefiting you, and many others. That's really the key, even if it's subliminal. So I feel like this was a lot, but it's all simple and it's all connected. I hope that it benefited you. So much love to you. I feel like I just talked so much. But thank you for listening, and let's see. I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to speak on today. The Merkaba, activating your field, activating your multidimensional nature, You know, being sovereign, being love, being light, and also not taking anyone's shit, setting boundaries. It's part of it, because we didn't, that's the two energy I was speaking about in my last video. It's like, I don't believe we just came here to master the light. We came here to master the light and the dark in this duality. We mastered how to just be in this unified field of light, as well as learning how to master being the shining star in the dark. That's the best analogy I could have ever been given, is being the shining star in the dark. Because, you know, it's not always easy, but like I said, it's so rewarding when you see yourself starting to stand in your sovereignty like this, and you start to have this power. And it's not, because as I said before, you know, God will start to give you these immense powers when you're so strong in your mastery that you're not corruptible. But it's not even your power, because that's the ego's, you know, it's not even, it's just the source. It's just God. It's this unified field of Christ consciousness here to serve others. I hope that makes sense. Sending you all so much love. Thank you again for being here. Thank you for listening. Thank you for everything you do. You are enough. Your presence is enough. You are seen. You are loved. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.